without the magnificent writer and pundit David Horowitz, Chapin's Infernal, a wandering cauldron of politically incorrect commentary, would be absolutely nothing. Seriously, it was in the midst of reading his chapter, Manchurian President, within the book Hating Whitey. It was at that precise moment, in May of 2000, that I finally decided to join the side I was always on. I officially became a conservative. It was Dave's book that pushed me over the edge, and I think he's heard that story 4 times by now. But as a result, I am somewhat perplexed that Horowitz wrote in his 3rd volume of memoirs, A Point in Time, The Search for Redemption in This Life and the Next. And by the way, my mother's birthday is next week, and you know what I bought her? All 3 of Dave's memoirs, all wrapped up together, send them over there. Just a suggestion, and it's also the truth. Anyway, I'm perplexed that he was uncertain about the purpose of life. Specifically, he observed, I am left to ponder the pointlessness of our strivings on this earth, and to ask impossible questions and receive no answers. Dave, buddy, I'm the answer. Influencing people like me is what it's all about. That's all you can ask for. Granted, if your criteria is did you realign galaxies or create new species, then yeah, you've lived a worthless life, and we'd all fail any test of significance like that. But we're human. From us, you can only expect so much. But to me, Mr. Horowitz has lived the life of 10 men and should have no doubts or regrets. Between 1989 and 2004, Dave had a golden period. No, it wasn't gold. It was a rhodium period, wherein he put out tome after tome, which masterfully articulated the case for conservatism, while also completely debunking the political left. Folks like me will be about as likely to forget David Horowitz as the Bears will Walter Payton, France Zinedine Zidane, or Liverpool Steven Gerrard. It's just not going to happen. Our author now dwells in semi-rural seclusion with his wife and several animals. But if he were around my kind every day, he wouldn't have to ask questions about what his impact is. Should we, in the next 5 years or so, manage to save the United States of America, then Dave's efforts will have everything to do with our success, whether he's a household name or not. Moreover, he's a serious scholar, so a lack of fame is, well, it's standard. I mean, it's not like he's the Situation or something. Now, recently, Dave has faced some serious health crises, diabetes, prostate cancer, a stent for his heart, and now at age 72, he has a stoical acceptance to the future, at least by the end of the book. And I think that that's best practice for people who are 72 or any age. And Horowitz continues to publish and produce, and I can think of no better way to live your life than that. Probably his biggest obstacle, though, which he has had to deal with, is the death of his daughter, which I covered here in Inferno entitled The Cracking of the Heart. But even when facing great uncertainties, Horowitz still consults with the finest minds in history. Yeah, he's a great stylist, but erudition is integral to who he is. Here, he discusses Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, which was enlightening for me, as before this, Marcus Aurelius was just a historical reference. This quote in particular, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens, is a lesson that all of us would do well to follow. Aurelius advises that every day we encounter people who are rude and deceitful, but do not rise to their offense or seek redress for the irritations they cause, for you cannot change them, and the attempt to do so is pointless. Instead, ask yourself, is it possible that shameless men should not be in the world? It is not possible. Do not, then, require what is impossible. How many of us forget that simple truth in our daily affairs? I know that I sometimes do. But politics is central to his vision, and that's why I've always loved the guy. I want to share with you this nugget from Dostoevsky about socialism in particular. Socialism is a modern incarnation of godlessness, the Tower of Babel built without God, not to raise earth to heaven, but to bring heaven down to earth. They hope to make a just order for themselves, But having rejected Christ, they will end by drenching the earth with blood, which is exactly what that sick movement has done over the last 100 years. More follows from Horowitz himself. The Church of Socialism cannot allow its flock the freedom to oppose its redemption. But this is the one freedom that leads to all others. And what better describes the left than these two sentences? The passion to create a new world is really a passion to destroy the old one, transforming the love of humanity into a hatred for the human beings who stand in its way. Even as they seek desperately for a common object to love, so they yearn for a common enemy to hate, which is why the quest for an earthly redemption has led to the greatest crimes. You can see why David Horowitz is one of my all-time favorite writers, based on that content, and why anything that he pens exclusively, if it's his name alone, is something that I rush to read. If he wrote it, it's always interesting and always informative. Not only this volume, but all three of his memoir trilogy. And you don't have to take my word on it. You can ask my mom when she's done. That'll probably be in 2 weeks' time, knowing her. But all of his work meets the full Chapin's Inferno seal of approval. And I thank you for tuning in.